The Special Tribunal for Lebanon issued its historic judgment, the first in a case dealing with a terrorist attack. The blast targeted and killed former Prime Minister Rafiq Hariri, 21 others, and at least injured another 226 people, some very seriously. Many buildings were badly damaged. The Lebanese people were traumatized. The judgment consists of 2,641 pages of analysis and findings. In order to produce this invaluable document, the judges analyzed the testimony of close to 300 witnesses and over 3,000 exhibits. This document is a historic achievement for Lebanon and international criminal justice. Why do we say this? First of all, this judgment established many very important facts, and these facts were established in accordance with a very high standard, beyond a reasonable doubt. The facts established are too numerous to list here, but I will mention a few. Salim Jamil Ayash, a member of Hezbollah, participated in the planning and execution of a massive explosion in the heart of Beirut. The explosion was triggered by an as yet unidentified suicide bomber in a small truck loaded with military-grade explosives. This was an act of terrorism that was designed to spread fear among the Lebanese population and was committed for political and not personal reasons. It was designed to destabilize Lebanon. Mr. Ayash did not act alone. The trial chamber found that there were more than 20 individuals using 4 different mobile phone networks, referred to as red, blue, green, and yellow, and that these networks were interconnected, coordinated with each other, and covert at the relevant times. The 6 core red network mobile users were responsible for Mr. Hariri's murder. Mr. Ayash was the user of a phone in each of the networks, and the green network also included Mr. Mustafa Badreddin, a senior Hezbollah operative, now deceased. The judges also determined that the attack on Mr. Hariri was carefully planned and implemented. It did not occur in a political or historical vacuum, and Syria and Hezbollah may have had the motives to eliminate Mr. Hariri and some of his political allies. Moreover, the judges found that the date when the conspirators decided to proceed with the attack coincided with 2 important events in early February 2005. The first, a visit to his home by the Syrian Deputy Foreign Minister, and the following day, a 3rd meeting of the anti-Syrian opposition in Beirut, which called for the total withdrawal of Syrian forces from Lebanon. At the same time, the trial chamber judges could only pronounce on whether the prosecutor has proven the charges against the 4 accused listed in the indictment. This they did, finding that the guilt of Mr. Ayash has been proven beyond a reasonable doubt, while the guilt of Mr. Merai, Mr. Onaisi, and Mr. Sabra has not. This brings me to the second point. The judgment demonstrates that an independent, impartial, thorough, and transparent judicial process is possible and necessary. Where the judges received sufficient evidence, they convicted, and where they did not, they acquitted. The case was incredibly complex. The investigators closely examined the circumstances on the use of mobile phones in an attempt to find their users. They engaged in a complex and time-consuming inquiry, which included analyzing where each mobile was used, who it was in contact with and how often, and who its contacts contacted. On receiving the evidence, the judges analyzed the data of thousands of calls to verify whether alleged patterns indeed emerged. The task was enormous and it took a long time, but it has been completed to the highest international standards. Finally, and most importantly, by establishing these important facts, this judgment provides justice to the victims. Participating victims provided direct evidence of the terrible consequences of the attack. The judges could not order reparations, but they identified the victims so as to assist them in claiming compensation before a competent body. The judges also reminded the Lebanese government of the UN Declaration of Basic Principles of Justice for Victims and of the need for just compensation for the victims of crimes. This is as relevant today as it was 15 years ago.